What's up everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to another video. I'm Ryan Beach, and on this video we're gonna be talking about performance anxiety. Now I'm not gonna get super deep into performance anxiety because there are books and people have built their entire careers on helping people overcome their performance anxiety and recognize or reach their performance potential. And so instead of trying to just recreate their work, I'm just going to share a few ideas, 4 of them in fact, that I think can contribute to performance anxiety and how I might go about alleviating them with my practice or with an adjustment of my mindset. Before we get into this content of this video, I do want to say that ultimately what we're seeking is something called flow state. And if you're not familiar with flow state, I'm going to link a video up above where you can hear me and my wife Kathleen talk about flow state and how we might adjust and design our practice sessions to give ourselves a better chance to be in flow state, which is that place where maybe the rest of the world and our cares fall away, we lose track of time, we're just so focused on the task. This is going to be a big advantage to us in trying to combat performance anxiety, so I highly recommend you checking out that video if you haven't already. Let's get into the video. So the first idea I want to talk about is how our preparation affects our performance anxiety. Many of us can identify with the experience of spending tons of time in the practice room trying to get everything just right. And we practice slow, we make sure we know our rhythms, we know the notes, and we know what music we're trying to do. We do all of the things we're supposed to do, and then when we get into the performance, it's as if our skills are just not there. We have no access to them. Everything goes wrong. We feel like everyone's maybe laughing at us. You know, we've all had these experiences of being embarrassed, and the problem with that is the way we prepared evidently did not prepare us to be able to perform at a high level. So let's dig a little deeper at what that means. Practicing an instrument is not just going through the motions of being able to do your fundamentals and your scales and your etudes and your excerpts or performance material, but we also need the organization itself to reflect that what we are asked to do on a regular basis is to play at our highest level the very first time that we are asked to do it. If you're someone whose practice is a little haphazard and you're not really thinking too critically about what it is to practice and how we would build that skill of first time success, this is possibly something to look at in your own practice to ask yourself, am I actually preparing in such a way that I will be able to be successful when I perform? Relating it back to flow state, one of the tenets we talked about is that being in flow state can often result in a perceived sense of control over the task or over the activity that you are doing. In a performance, this can mean that while you are performing, if you are in flow state, if you have spent the time to prepare very deeply and you are focused on what you have prepared for, you're gonna be able to almost feel as if that you're in control of the outcome. You know what's gonna happen and you are in the driver's seat, as opposed to many of us who have felt we are just in survival mode, trying to make sure we get through this performance without messing up too much. If you're someone who struggles with this, I would highly recommend that you think about what skills you are going to practice in your practice session and what exercises you are going to use to develop those skills. This will help you have very goal-oriented practice that's going to help you become intimately acquainted with the production of your instrument. When you pair that with the musical content that you're trying to instill or ingrain into your performance material, this will give you a 2-part blueprint, your production and your musical blueprint that you are trying to execute in your actual performance, giving you much more to focus on and much more intimate detail that you are in control of. So if you're somebody who really believes you have a great system set up for practicing, but you still get nervous, moving on to the second idea, you may be somebody who just cares too much about what other people think. We've all experienced this, maybe most often in something like an audition, where not only do we have observers listening, but we also have people who are maybe judging our performance to deem if it's good enough or not. And when we make mistakes, our focus can shift from the task at hand to what do they think? Do they still like me? Am I gonna win this job? This has happened to me many, many times, and I bet it's happened to you as well. To put it bluntly, we just can't care what other people think, but I know that's easier said than done. I really believe having strong preparation will allow you to have confidence in your approach because you've done your due diligence, you've done your best, and you can rest sort of with the knowledge that you've done your best and that's all you can do. Making sure you have a strong, compelling musical idea that you are trying to convey and you have built-in consistency in your process to consistently share that message is really all you can do. And then you just gotta let the result happen and you can let other people decide. what they think, but it is none of your business. In terms of flow state, one of the tenets we talked about in that video was that when you are in flow state, the cares of the world or the anxieties of the world around you seem to fall away. And this would sort of support this idea that if you are super focused on what you're doing, you have a little bit less room, or a lot less room, for the opinions of others or, like I said, what they think of you to enter into your consciousness. If you're someone who prepares beautifully for performances and you really don't care what other people think, but you still get nervous, we might move on to this third idea, that you might not be treating everything in your practice with equal importance. Many of us will approach our performance material, our solo repertoire, or excerpts, or whatever it may be, with a heavy degree of seriousness. We want to make sure every note is in the right place, all the rhythms are correct. We want to make sure we understand the articulation, what music we're going to do. We're going to study the score. We're going to know everything about it. But then when we approach our scales and our other fundamental exercises, maybe we just think, I'll just go through the motions and do that, and not really care as deeply about it being as great as I might care about the performance material. The problem with this is the care we're taking with the performance material is ingraining good habits, and the non-care we might have for the rest of it might be introducing bad habits, and your brain just doesn't know the difference, and so it's taking all of it in. And if you're experiencing inconsistency in your performance that's leading you to feeling performance anxiety, it might be because your preparation, it's gonna go back to that, but just the way you're approaching all of your material in general might be inconsistent, and that's causing the overall inconsistency. This fourth idea is one that came to me much later. I felt like after a period of time I had developed really good practice habits. I took everything seriously. I really just didn't care what other people think, but I found myself still getting nervous, in auditions especially, and I realized the biggest reason was, again, this fourth point, I just really cared way too much about the outcome of the audition. I'm sure we've all experienced this to some degree, again, especially in something like an audition where employment or good chair placement or something like that can lie on the other side of this particular activity. And so it's hard to divorce, at least for me, it's hard to divorce myself from the idea that, yeah, I want to learn a lot from this process. Yes, I feel like I'm becoming a better musician through it, but I also want to win the audition. And that's really hard to reconcile and sort of let go of if you're even supposed to. I think this is one of the most beautiful ways that flow state enters into the conversation. What we want to do is focus on the process of what we are doing, the process of playing an instrument, the process of telling a musical story. These things need to take up all of our consciousness, and it'll help us to release the result if we don't really have any room to think about the result while we're doing it. Believe me, this one I know is easier said than done, but I really believe it's at the root of a lot of people's performance anxiety, is that it just needs to be something more than what it can be. To wrap this video up, I want to share some words that I hope are encouraging for you, and it's to go back to something I said earlier about doing your best. I really feel like this is all we can do, and that every performance deserves our best. And I've been guilty of not doing this. I've been guilty of just trying to get by and knowing that I can play pretty well and that being good enough. And it unfortunately has led to me not really maximizing what I'm capable of. I think it can be easy to go to the extremes of this conversation where you're either not intense enough about your goals or you're too intense. If you're not intense enough, you might just not try hard enough to see that every single thing we do has the potential to lead to another thing. And if we're not doing our best, we're reducing that chance for one thing to lead to another, and so on. If we're too intense about our goals, you get me, which is this thing has to happen because my whole entire career rides on this one moment of this one audition, and if I just win this, I'll be principal trumpet in the Chicago Symphony and my whole life will be amazing. And you just start to spiral out of control and put so much pressure on this one moment in your life as if it doesn't work out that way, your whole life is over. It's just not true. Pretty recently, I've found that sitting right in the middle is a good place to be, to just do your best. You're gonna do your best because opportunities might be able to come from doing your best, and you're gonna do your best and let the result be whatever the result is, and try to make peace with that idea that if you don't win an audition or you don't have a good performance, maybe you weren't supposed to win that audition or have a good performance. Maybe you were supposed to learn something from that so you can go much further. I think having this kind of mindset helps reduce overall performance anxiety anxiety by basically just making it so no one performance is the end all be all. All right, everybody, that's gonna be all for this video. I hope you found it helpful in trying to understand performance anxiety, where you might lie in some of these ideas, and to give you some ideas of where you might go in order to help alleviate your performance anxiety. If you did enjoy the video or found it helpful or you liked it, I would appreciate it if you click the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see more content like this on this channel. If you have any questions about performance anxiety or maybe developing better practice habits so that you can be more prepared for whatever performances come your way, I'll leave a link down below for a free 30-minute meeting where we can talk about these kinds of things, and hopefully I can help you in any way that I can. Thanks so much for watching the video. Always remember, stay strong, be kind to yourself, never stop growing, and we'll see you next time.